Hey, not to scare you, but Giving Tuesday is right around the corner, and I want to help you get ready. Join me for a free webinar with my friends at GiveButter on November 6th, all about specific ways to drive donations on Giving Tuesday using social media. I'll focus on sharing very tactical ways and real-world examples, all designed to increase your results on this International Day of Generosity. You'll walk away with practical tips, ideas, inspiration, tools, and useful resources to make this Giving Tuesday your most successful yet. Just go to jcsocialmarketing.com/givebutter to register. That's jcsocialmarketing.com/givebutter. I hope to see you November 6th. Hello, and welcome to Nonprofit Nation. I'm your host, Julia Campbell, and I'm going to sit down with nonprofit industry experts, fundraisers, marketers, and everyone in between to get real and discuss what it takes to build that movement that you've been dreaming of. I created the Nonprofit Nation podcast to share practical wisdom and strategies to help you confidently find your voice, definitively grow your audience, and effectively build your movement. If you're a nonprofit newbie or an experienced professional who's looking to get more visibility, reach more people, and create even more impact, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. All right, welcome back to Nonprofit Nation. I'm your host, Julia Campbell, and I am just so excited to be here with you today. We're going to talk about corporate giving in action. And this week, I am really excited to sit down with Erin Hogue. Erin is the Senior Director of Spark Good at Walmart. And she's leading the change and the charge on how Walmart is bringing nonprofits, customers, and associates together to make a real-time impact in communities across the country. Now, 90% of the US population lives within 10 miles of a Walmart. That's an insane statistic. I'm definitely in that population. And over 80,000 nonprofits are already participating in Spark Good. There are endless ways to get involved. And my goal today is really to talk about the program, how nonprofits can get involved, what are some tips and tricks that they can do to be successful, and to learn more about Spark Good and how Walmart is creating change in local communities. So Erin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, can you tell me a little bit about your journey and how you came to be the sort of head of the Spark Good program? How'd you come to work at Walmart?
Yeah, thanks. So I've been here almost 9 years, which is also pretty crazy to think about. My background is in the nonprofit space and specifically a fundraiser. So I worked for different sizes of nonprofits for about 16 years before I joined Walmart, ranging from universities from a development perspective to small arts organizations, have even dabbled in political fundraising early in my career. So really have a heart for the work that nonprofits do because I have been in those shoes. And how I ended up at Walmart was I was a grantee of Walmart and Sam's Club here in Northwest Arkansas, where Walmart's headquarters is. And at that time, my contact at the Walmart.org team was transitioning to retirement, and they were looking for somebody to join the team who had a nonprofit background to bring that into their strategy as they're thinking about how to deepen the impact of their giving programs at the time. Oftentimes we weren't always, we had a lot of strong business leaders that were on the team at the time, but also wanted a different perspective of those communities that we served, and really sort of had the opportunity to throw my name in the hat and was lucky enough to get the opportunity at that time and was really focused on our Northwest Arkansas giving. Over time, as most things at Walmart, you get the opportunities and exposure to other areas of the business or other opportunities to grow your impact or work. And that sort of led me to the portfolio that I get to work with today, which is Spark Good. So Spark Good brings all of our local giving at Walmart and Sam's Club together under one brand. So when you think about probably the first gift that Walmart or local Walmart gave under the umbrella of our philanthropy was a local store grant to their local community. So this is not a new program. It's embedded in who we are as a business about how we serve our customers and the communities where we operate. But as the business has grown, our approach to philanthropy has grown.
Mhm.
And so our programs and reach have grown. But we've always had a focused commitment on serving the local communities where we live and work. Spark Good includes our local grants, our associate engagement programs, empowering them to give back in their community, and how we engage our customers. Whether you're online or in a store or in a club shopping, how do we empower you to do good in your community? So to top line summarize it all, I got really fortunate to join a great company who shared a passion for supporting and strengthening communities. And I was able to take that nonprofit experience and bring it into the corporate infrastructure of how do corporations like Walmart give back and partner with nonprofits and customers and associates in different ways to do good.
That's so important to have that nonprofit perspective. And I do know that a lot of people listening immediately will like breathe a sigh of relief, like, oh, she's one of us. Like she knows the sector. She's a fundraiser too. I know when I worked as the director of development, I worked at a domestic violence agency in Hampton, Virginia, many years ago. We received those grants from Walmart. So maybe before you created the Spark Good program. So who's eligible to participate? Like, what should nonprofits
Yeah.
know before applying?
Great question. And I would also say, like, we've sort of been on a journey probably since the last time you connected as from a grantee perspective with our programs to sort of bring all of the ways you can engage with Walmart and Spark Good in one easy place. Historically, just a couple years ago, you would go to one place to apply for a local grant. You'd go to one different application to request space outside of the store or club. If you wanted to engage with customers, that was a different process to sign up. We are still on that journey of bringing those together for an easy nonprofit experience on walmart.com/nonprofits. And that is really where you start. That's where you will get onboarded across all of Spark Good. And through that portal, you can set up a walmart.com account for your nonprofit that then gives you the access to those programs that your organization's eligible for. We serve a lot of different types of organizations, ranging from 501c3s to NCS schools. We also have programs that are available to government entities, so like your local police department who's offering a Shop with a Cop event in your community. All of those different types of local organizations may be eligible for a different Spark Good program. So that one entry point on walmart.com/nonprofits is really all you need to know. That's where you're going to start. And based on that verification process, we will connect you to that program or multiple programs you're eligible for.
That's so interesting. So can you be sort of like a junior league or a baseball team? So you don't necessarily have to have that specific 501c3 designation?
Yeah, so it depends on the program. So
Okay.
for most of those baseball teams, they would be eligible for the space outside of our stores and clubs, and they could request that space through the Spark Good programs to engage with our customers. If you're a 501c3, you are eligible for the space program, but also you can request a local grant from your local store and club or benefit from associates who volunteer, and Walmart will match those volunteer hours. So based on the type of organization you have access to different programs under the umbrella of Spark Good.
That's really interesting. I want to talk about the Roundup program. So I know there's many specific programs that nonprofits can participate in and get involved in, apply for. But the Roundup program is something that's so interesting to me just as a consumer and as a donor and as a fundraiser. So why this model over direct donations? And like, how do you decide where the funds go? I think for your regular average donor, what I usually get questions, it's, how did CVS, how did Shaw's, how did Walmart, how did all of these brands pick who the Roundup goes to? So yeah, tell me about that process and sort of what's different about it and what the thought behind it was.
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I remember when I was on the other side and oftentimes was asking the same
It's like,
question.
why isn't my
Um,
nonprofit on here?
And, when you think about Walmart or historically, we serve so many communities around the world. So before we had sort of the Roundup program on .com, that Walmart.com that's available, your traditional sort of customer fundraising activation at point of sale would be when we turned on registers, both in our stores and clubs in that footprint. And so historically, we have always been super mindful of donor fatigue. As many of
Mm.
you, as many of our nonprofit partners or the listeners on the podcast are, like, you want to be sensitive to donor fatigue and making sure you're engaging your stakeholders in very strategic ways. And with that, we take the same approach. So point of sale fundraising historically was always like 2, maybe 3 times a year. We would turn on registers at scale, and that partner oftentimes needed to mirror our footprint. And you would see that they would have a local presence in all the stores or clubs where we operated. So one that you might be familiar with is our Fight Hunger Spark Change campaign, where we partner with Feeding America. And during that campaign, you can round up or make a donation in store and online. And where you are as a customer, your donation will be designated to that local food bank. And so we map all of our stores and clubs to that local facility that can benefit from those donations. Outside of that, Children's Miracle Network, your local children's hospital, it's one of our longest running partnerships from a Walmart and Sam's perspective. And then the third option is sometimes at times of disaster. In our broader company response, we engage customers to join us in responding to a natural disaster that is oftentimes at scale or impacts a large number of communities. Outside of those three, we continue to hear over and over again, both from our operators, our associates, our community stakeholders, and our customers saying, that's great. Love my local food bank and I love my children's hospital. But like, what about my apple seeds that's just in Fayetteville, Arkansas? How can I support them at checkout? And they don't have a footprint in all communities. And so we were really inspired after listening to our nonprofits and customers who were both saying, how do we empower choice? How do you empower the nonprofit to engage with our customers better? And then how do we empower our customers to select who they want to give to based on what is meaningful to them? And that's where our Spark Good Roundup program sort of came to life. It's about 2-3 years. My math starts running together there a little bit, but it's one of our newest programs, and it's only available on Walmart.com. And nonprofits can sign up and enroll. Specifically, 501c3s or NCS schools are currently eligible. And by you opting into the program, you are agreeing to allow Walmart on Walmart.com to promote your nonprofit to customers who then can choose to select your nonprofit. And every time they shop on .com, they can round up to support your organization. We work with Network for Good to facilitate that program. So they're the signature partner, and then disbursements go down through that. That's part of the registration process for the nonprofit when they're signing up for the program. But that's a great example of oftentimes we are just grounded in making sure others are empowered to support the causes that are meaningful to them, regardless of their footprint or their cause, or if they have a relationship with Walmart. All you have to do from a nonprofit perspective is go to walmart.com/nonprofits and enroll in the program, and then let your donors who are maybe already shopping at Walmart, hopefully, select your nonprofit. So when they're doing that, they can extend their impact by supporting you at checkout.
So it's using consumer behavior the way that consumers are already shopping and going online and going to stores, and then just really amplifying giving in that same kind of consumer shopping and space. I think that's really interesting. I know for me, I do a lot of online shopping. I do a lot of shopping in stores. I do a lot of shopping everywhere. I always appreciate an opportunity to give back, especially if it's something where I can just click a button. It's very easy to do. It's sort of kind of a no-brainer. The other thing that I think is interesting about something like a Roundup program is it's awareness raising, because what I have seen is if I have been asked to make a donation sometimes at a store that I've been in, I sometimes don't know the organization. It might be local, and it just sort of piques my curiosity and my interest. And if people are talking about it, it's really helpful with visibility too. So it's sort of
Yes.
like it's helpful with fundraising and driving donations, but it also is helpful with visibility. So another piece of the Spark Good program is the storefront fundraising. This is not just like canning. I used to do that for years when I was, on the basketball team and things like that. And my kids are doing it now that they're in sports. The
Yes.
good old fashioned holding a can outside the door and asking for change. So, what is storefront fundraising, and why is it part of the Spark Good program?
When you think about sort of Walmart's, we'll click up for a minute and then I'll dive into like how this sort of fits in how
Mhm.
we think about giving back and serving communities. It's really about leveraging our business strengths to do good. And then our philanthropy complements those business strengths. So, from a top line, if you were to look at our philanthropic priorities, they really mirror where the business has also prioritized those, whether from a day to day operations or from a broader commitment standpoint, whether that's advancing economic opportunity in retail and retail supply chain. We're one of the largest retailers. Of course, we're going to philanthropically
Mhm.
invest in that, or enhancing sustainability in our supply chains. We serve products. We want to make sure we're living a fit, like doing our part to leave a sustainable footprint for future generations. And then from a strengthening community standpoint, you think, what is our business strengths in that group? It's
Mhm.
our associates, it's our customers, which we've already talked about. And then it's our physical presence in those communities. And that's really where the storefront fundraising comes into play. It's a tool where organizations can request the space on a day in front of a facility, and Walmart is saying, yes, you're approved. You can have this stay during this time frame and engage with our customers and share your awareness raising. So we see such a variety. It could just be raising awareness about a cause or how people can volunteer and get involved. We see most visions that come to mind are your Red Kettle Salvation
Mhm.
Army at the holidays campaign, or your Girl Scouts who are selling
Mhm.
cookies outside of the store, or your Boy Scouts selling their popcorn. But really, any organization in the community can request that space, and Walmart wants to invite you to engage with our customers and help spread the good work that you're doing. You start that process in the same place you apply for a grant or enroll in Roundup that we talked about, walmart.com/nonprofits. And you can track, the facilities that you've requested space for. You sign up when you get there through the app. You can track your impact there as well. And so it's a program we've had for a very long time, but it oftentimes was, and you'll maybe be surprised by hearing this, but it used to be you would walk into a store and just have a conversation with the store manager and you'd fill some paperwork. And many people didn't know it was available. They thought it was you needed to be a national partner at scale. And so that was a part of the Spark Good vision is how to open that up so all eligible organizations know or have the ability to request space digitally through the tool and the program.
Oh, that's so exciting. So that would be one day or a weekend, or you can request
You
as
can
many days as you
request
want.
multiple days. If you're approved, it's 14 days, in a calendar year, just so that we make sure that
Mhm.
we're once again mindful of fatigue. But you can request that, many communities have multiple stores or multiple
Mhm.
clubs. So you can request from multiple locations. And if you're approved at one, it doesn't impact your count or your numbers from another facility as well.
So I'd love to get your perspective on generosity and giving trends. There's been a lot of doom and gloom around individual giving being down, numbers of actual donations being down. I've been reading, the Giving Pulse report from Giving Tuesday. The Fundraising Effectiveness Project releases a lot of data, and it seems, I mean, if you dig deep into it, it does seem like individual giving is down. And I know personally, generosity is not down. But if you look at the headlines and you look at the data, one might think that it is. In your experience, because Walmart does gather a ton of data on giving trends, do you see that people are being more or less generous? What do you see the trends being?
So I'll first speak from like our associate programs. and really thinking about what we're seeing from always on giving. So at Walmart, we offer associates the ability, excuse me, to give to any 501c3 or NCS school. They can give through payroll or credit card, and they can do that at any time. And over the years, we've really transitioned trying to open up that choice. About 4 years ago, it was only 11 set nonprofits that we worked with. And so if you think about really the core of what we've been driving towards is empowering choice across all eligible organizations and really empowering associates to give to causes they care about. With that sort of transition from 11 set orgs to anybody in the US that is a 501c3 or NCS school, we actually have seen people giving more from a
Wow.
numbers standpoint. Of course, over the years, as we are all sort of, more need is happening in the community, there's some more ways to engage. People's average donation might change based on their own circumstances, but we are not seeing the number of unique associates changing. We're seeing that growing, which is really exciting. We also periodically offer matching campaigns for associates during, key moments like the holidays. And those matching dollars are often matched within like 5 to 7 days. And usually it's a 4-week campaign. So we are still seeing generosity shown in a lot of different ways. With that, also giving might be your time. And I know nonprofits are
Yes.
oftentimes both looking for financial contributions, but are also trying to make the most of their staff resources. And so, from how we think about it, giving your time and talents is also just as important. And we have seen our trends going up. During COVID, of course, we saw those trends go down just because of different circumstances, but we are seeing us getting back up closer to COVID trends. And then with that, we offer matching grants. Every associate in the US can request every year up to 100 hours matched. That could equal $1,000 total for an organization. They can spread it out across multiple orgs or any, but like we are seeing that program grow. With that, comes, sometimes the tension with nonprofits of do I have volunteer opportunities available to, people who are looking involved? And so sometimes that's my call to action. When I think back to when I was in the nonprofit space, I didn't always, as a fundraiser, have readily available volunteer
Oh, right.
opportunities
Especially
to
if you're
also
working with
share.
kids and there's Corey's involved and there's all
Yes.
sorts of things. Yeah.
And so, like, not every organization might have that, but think about creative ways. Is there virtual options? Are there things to provide families? Being on this side, I get asked that internally more and more, whether it's a team wanting to volunteer or I'm new to the area and I want to take my kids to get connected. And just being able to have a resource where people can find those opportunities when maybe it's not as natural for them to just show up randomly with a nonprofit and say, introduce themselves and say, hey, I want to get involved. How can I? I'm not shy by that, but some people, might not be inclined to do that. And so that's another piece for our Spark Good programs is we've recently launched new features in our Spark Good Associate platform, partnering with our partner Deed, where nonprofits can post their volunteer needs and associates can see them in the tool. So the same
Cool.
place where I go to volunteer or I go to give payroll or participate in a matching campaign, I could also go there and search for volunteer needs in the next month and sign up there. That also connects you to log your hours and get your VAP grant or volunteerism grant. And so for us as a company, we are seeing associates want to do more in ways that fit where they are at that moment in time. Maybe financially makes sense for them, but I have a lot of little kids right now. I'm not able to do a lot of volunteering because I've got volleyball to go to and then baseball and then soccer.
Yeah,
But
that
then
sounds
like
like
a
it sounds like
different
my life.
stage of life, I
Yeah.
might be able to engage in volunteerism differently. And so for us, with the variety of associates we serve, choice matters. And for our nonprofit partners to just be helping us share those opportunities with our base so that they can engage because people want to. They're just often not sure where to start. Then from a
Yeah.
customer
Oh,
standpoint,
yeah.
I'd say we see customers continue to give. We're seeing them give through more Roundup, but they also like to choose when and how they give. So
Hmm.
if it's in line, if it's at every time they shop or just periodically, they do like to be the ones selecting that versus the company saying, forcing that or and nudging that when they have opportunities.
I think that's really interesting. I'm always interested to see. I don't think that forms of giving cannibalize other forms of giving. I know there's a myth out there that Roundup might be cannibalizing me making a donation on my own to an organization, but the data just does not spell that out, at least in my experience. And Giving Tuesday has done a lot of research on this, that all forms of generosity lift up more generosity. Like the more you participate in philanthropy and normalize philanthropy in your day-to-day life, the more likely you are to give and to give more and to give more often. So I always think any way you can get giving to be normal and just be part of something that you're doing every day and thinking about every
Exactly.
day, that's more likely to create a culture of philanthropy that is going to make a bigger impact. And I also love what you said about having this platform where your associates really, they can check, all of these different things online, and then they can just look at volunteer opportunities. I really feel like nonprofits, I love you so much, but no one's going to call you on the phone. Maybe someone will call you on the phone, but I think it'd be rare, and say, what volunteer opportunity do you have this weekend? You need to put them on your website. You need to have it in an accessible manner. We almost need like an Uber for volunteering. Someone invent that right now. Not an Uber, but there's probably like an Uber,
Some version of
like a
that,
Postables.
yes.
I don't know. People want to volunteer, but I think they have a few hours here and there, or they have a free weekend, maybe plans fell through or something, and they want to do something. It's not something they necessarily plan in advance. And I love the idea of having this kind of database, making it easy for the
Right.
donor and easy for the volunteer, which is at the end of the day, I think, what the entire purpose should be.
Yeah. And I would say we're still iterating. We have a nonprofit council that really advises this work and informs sort of how we continue to improve these programs and meet broad types of nonprofits' needs. And I would say we're one step on that journey of connecting associates to volunteerism in their community by allowing and empowering nonprofits to post on the site. But we also know many of y'all have your own volunteerism platforms you're posting, and we don't want to be duplicating. So, like, future vision is how do we, at the end of the day, do exactly what you're saying, build that connection and not unintentionally having nonprofits post and manage volunteerism on their own website and then posting on ours so they connect with associates. Like, how do we continue to work together to where it's simplifying your day to day from a nonprofit perspective of building those relationships in easy ways and getting your opportunities in front of stakeholders, whether they're associates or customers, to continue to do the work you're doing, which is oftentimes needed to be supported through fundraising and or staff time. So
What role do you think corporations should play in philanthropy today? And how is Walmart sort of setting this bar? And what would you love to tell other companies? Like, what can they learn from your model, like your successes, and maybe some of, I wouldn't say failures, maybe some obstacles you've run into?
So I can't speak for other corporations, but I can say for like how Walmart views the role philanthropy plays alongside our business is it's really an extension of how we serve the communities and our customers. And so it is embedded in who we are as a business. It's embedded in our culture. And therefore our philanthropy, like many companies have to make choices around how they support, maybe what focus area their grant programs focus on, or how all of their programs ladder up. Walmart is very intentional in doing that a lot, or philanthropy does that alongside business decisions. Because at the end of the day, we believe that by how we operate and serve our customers and associates and members every day, like that has the biggest long-term societal impact through the shared value approach. And our philanthropy just complements it. It extends that impact. It extends those connections and communities. And so For us, that has been really powerful as we're thinking about how our philanthropy complements or how we partner with other corporations and communities, because that is really clear. And we hope that that allows us to partner because it's going to take all of us. It's going to take the private sector, the public sector, the nonprofit sector, all coming together to address super complex issues or opportunities in our communities. And we can't tackle it alone. There's not enough philanthropy out there, most likely, to tackle the issues that we're faced, and it's going to take all of us together. So I think that's like really the core of our approach. I see more and more corporations leaning into their strengths too. And so, more of my advice to the former fundraiser of myself, if I was looking back, talking to myself when I was on the other side, is corporations, I was trained in, very donor centric philanthropy approach and like stewardship of that, knowing your priorities and making sure you also are listening to that potential funder or donor. Corporations is the same as an individual donor, really understanding what their priorities are, how your programs fit into that. How do you help connect those dots? What makes sense for Walmart might not still be the exact same presentation you give to the next corporation or the same application. It might support the same program, but what we're looking for might be slightly different. So doing that research, understanding that culture in the community as well as the culture in that corporation is really impactful. And then when I think about future of our work, it will continue to listen to our customers, which is grounded in our business model. Of course, Walmart wants to continue to serve our customers. For our philanthropy to have the deepest impact is to be grounded in those that we're serving, which are nonprofits and the communities you're serving. So making sure we are informed and listening, as well as listening to our associates, continues to be top of mind for sort of trends and also future state for our work.
One thing you said just stuck out to me, as a fundraiser, and I think for a lot of people, they tend to get this sort of push from their board or their executive director. Oh, this is the biggest business in town. You should go ask them for a donation, or this is the richest person in town. You should go ask them for a donation. But just because they are rich or big or have a lot of connections and reach does not mean that there's going to be the synergy and the fit. So I think that's so important. Like, what are their priorities? How can how can it be a win-win for both the nonprofit and for the corporation? And I think that's such a good point about corporate giving. Treat it like you would individual giving. You're not just going to approach, a random, like, very wealthy person, knock on their door. Maybe you would. I don't know. I don't think that's the best approach. Just kind of knock on their door and say, write us a check. So doing your due diligence and making that connection and making those relationships. I used to do that all the time, even just with grant funding or with any kind of corporate funding. It's all about the connections and the relationship, and making that case for support is vital. It's really important.
Yeah. And to like give that in another like very specific use case at Walmart is I get asked all the time of like, well, I've applied for local grants, but I haven't gotten them. And I'm like, well, do you have a relationship with somebody in that facility? Like, have you ever talked to the store manager when you were shopping? Or have you requested the space outside of the store where you're engaging with customers, but you're also going to talk to associates who are walking by? Like, those decisions are oftentimes made by the facility manager or a small group of associates. And so, like, it's about relationships. Do they know what you do in this community? Have they seen you? Do they know that you're a customer? Like, those things build relationships, and it might dovetail maybe not into a grant, but maybe into a volunteer opportunity around Volunteerism Month, or that then spurs into your next board seat opportunity. I get questions all the time. I want somebody from Walmart on the board. And I always say, well, do you have any current volunteers from Walmart that are already engaged? They're the first place to start. So just about, I can't iterate enough what you've said. It's about that connection. We do a lot of these applications online, but at the end of the day, why people give their customer choosing to round up to you, an associate choosing to give to you through the platform or the facility manager associates choosing to award a grant or approve the space, but it's grounded in because they have some connection to your organization at some stage that has connected them to wanting to use these programs to do good.
Well, Erin, this has just been really fantastic, insightful. I learned a lot and I'm really excited. I think this is a wonderful opportunity, especially for a lot of the small and bootstrapping nonprofits out there. So, where can people learn more about Spark Good and where can they learn more about you and connect with you?
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to give two different places. So you can go to walmart.org/sparkgood. And this is where we have all of our tools and resources, our checklist of how to get involved. We have webinars that we host twice a month that you could sign up and learn a little bit more about each of these programs. We also have deep dive toolkits for you that you can use if that's of interest. But if you are already ready to just get involved and start signing up, you can go to walmart.com/nonprofits. And that is our nonprofit portal where you can create your Spark Good account and get connected to all of our programs.
Well, thank you so much. And
Thank
thanks so
you.
much for all that you do. And yeah, nonprofits, check it out and see if it's an opportunity that resonates with you. But Erin, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, hey there. I wanted to say thank you for tuning into my show and for listening all the way to the end. If you really enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app, and you'll get new episodes downloaded as soon as they come out. I would love if you left me a rating or a review because this tells other people that my podcast is worth listening to. And then me and my guests can reach even more earbuds and create even more impact. So that's pretty much it. I'll be back soon with a brand new episode. But until then, you can find me on Instagram at JuliaCampbell77. Keep changing the world, you nonprofit unicorn.